this is your first meeting in person for both of you. And this brings me to my first question, Jane. You are a passionate environmentalist. You've been working for decades to try and change the way that we treat our planet. And Axel, you're the CEO of a corporation that produces plastic and foam. And Jane's first words to you were actually, "Oh, you're Mr. Plastic." And yet here you are sitting together very amicably. Shouldn't you be quite skeptical of each other?
Well, I don't know why you would be mad at me. I can't think why. And I'm not mad at you. You can call me, if I call you Mr. Plastic, you can call me Mama Chimpanzee.
It is so important to understand different positions. So there's no need to be afraid. There's no need to be mad. It's just learning from each other and understanding each other's position.
The last time you two spoke was about a year ago. How would you say the world has changed or progressed since then, or have we gone backwards in the wrong direction?
Well, I don't think we've gone very much forward except in awareness. There are definitely more people aware, especially young people. The awareness, unfortunately, tends not to lead to action. And people understand we need to change. It's the young people who are more eager to see change because they're inheriting the mess that we've made. And we have made a mess of this planet, environmentally. And right now we've got the terrible war with Ukraine, which is damaging the environment as well as leading to horrendous suffering, stretching way beyond Ukraine and Russia.
So from a global perspective, I can clearly understand the view or the judgment that not very much has happened. But for our industry, it has really turned upside down. When we started discussing sustainability and circularity, for many in our industry, it was far, far remote. And now we're amidst a transformation, which already begun, and it will take time, but it's not reversible. And I think this is really what is, from a global perspective, I fully agree, but for our industry, and probably there are a lot of industries who are amidst this transformation. So for us, we have committed to circularity and to more sustainability. And for us, it is clear it's our number one priority.
Axel, you've committed to this idealism. You committed to making your company climate neutral and fully circular by 2030, which gives you 7 years and a few weeks. How far along are you?
We've acknowledged that the way that we have to go as a company, it's a long way to go. But it is our commitment which stands for this target. And am I satisfied with how far we've gotten so far? No, I'm not. But I think that all our people are really doing our very best to do it step by step. And I can clearly say the entire industry is changing. Probably not to your full satisfaction, but yeah, we've set ourselves clear targets and we're working towards them.
But it's not just you. It's also, why is the plastic getting into the ocean? You make the plastic. If you didn't make plastic, it couldn't go in the ocean.
So you are right. It's a mess that we see this plastic ending up in the ocean. And we take, of course, responsibility for being part of it. I think what we try to do is we try to highlight that there's also a positive that comes along with plastics, because plastics, of course, protects what's in there. It's the content we try to protect.
But I think it's very clear that plastic does play an important role in most of our lives. I mean, there's pictures of me in the early days of Gombe, and when it was pouring with rain, I had this plastic sheet which I put over my head, and it folded up nice and small. And some of our things would have gone totally moldy if we didn't put them in plastic. So the big problem is in what plastic is. Yes. The fact that you get this, this microplastic, which is in all sea life now, and because we eat, well, I don't eat it, but people do, so it's in our bodies. And what that's going to do in the future, we don't know. But this single-use plastic, Kenya's banned it. Tanzania, which is where the chimps are, they did ban it, but it's lax. They don't seem to care anymore. the manufacturers of the single-use plastic, they stopped because they were fined, but now they're back on, so it's the way it's used, the way it's disposed of, the way it's not disposed of.
I think that banning, of course, is something which contributes, but I think the solution needs to be different, because there are solutions, and we need to improve these solutions, and we need to make sure they are being used. And I think it's a bunch of measures that need to be taken in many countries. So we need to have working waste disposal systems everywhere in place. But of course, and there are enough products which the world does not need, and that's
so
fair.
Many.
That's fair. I mean, I've partaking in a marathon in Linz a couple of weeks ago, and there were so many people just having plastic covers before they start, and then they just throw it away.
Well, this is it. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I think this is where awareness is so helpful. To make sure, okay, so if I use this, so let's collect it and let's dispose it, and then there is no need to feel bad about this, because there are so many, as you said, I believe we won't see a world without plastics in the next decade, and there's a good reason, but we need to make sure that we just try to fight the negative impact.
Yeah, and somehow to be able to recycle, reuse, sort of keep it out of the environment in some way or other.
Jane, can I ask you something though? Because, you said, well, if you didn't manufacture your product, then we wouldn't have these problems that we're having. So then why decide to partner with Kühner anyway? How do you decide which companies you partner with? And if not plastic manufacturers, then is there any type of company that you would never partner with?
Yeah, I would never partner with a company that says they're making change, but actually they're not. And companies that are corrupt, companies that are paying money to governments so that they can get around the rules and regulations. There are many such. There's some really bad oil and gas companies that I wouldn't dream of partnering with, some high-end fashion, which is unbelievably destroying the environment. And people who sell pharmaceuticals, testing on animals, that sort of thing.
How do you know that Axel actually means what he says?
But there are companies that are really not only trying to change, but changing. And you'll like this story. I met a CEO the other day. I was talking to a whole group of CEOs in Singapore. And he said, Jane, for 8 years I've been working hard to get my corporation environmentally friendly in the country where we source our products, along the supply chain, the way we treat our customers, and the way we operate in our different offices. There were 3 reasons. 1, I saw the writing on the wall. I saw we were using up natural resources in many places more quickly than nature could replenish them. 2, consumer pressure. People didn't want to buy products that were unethically made. But he said what tipped the balance was my little girl of 8. She came back from school one day and she said, Daddy, they tell me you're hurting the planet. That's not true, is it, Daddy? Because it's my planet.
You have 2 teenage daughters, don't you? Do they ever say anything like that to you?
Maybe not as harsh and not as direct, but of course family helps, yes.
But a different sort of question is, do you think there will ever be a substitute made in from more environmentally friendly, sustainable materials? I mean, there are these alternative plastics that are made from, food waste and stuff. Could they ever work?
Yeah, I think so. Not in the next 10 years. So I think the foreseeable future, there will be, I would say, material that can substitute crude oil-based plastics, but it will take some time.
But it would help, wouldn't it?
It would help, of course. I mean, so one of the examples is that in the very beginning of replacement material, we were discussing food-based plastics, which is weird because I mean there needs to be crop and then turned into yogurt cups. From our perspective, this doesn't make sense because this triggers increases in agricultural prices in certain world countries, which is very negative. And so now we have managed to take food waste, and then it starts making sense. But the time to scale this up so that this can really replace plastics on a large scale, this will take some time. And this is also the only thing which I would say, request as an industry. Just give us some time. For those companies who are really committed to change, just give us the time that we really can make this change. It will happen, but it will take them time. And that's the only thing that I would require.
Are you going to have to sacrifice a little bit of profit, or can you achieve unlimited economic development in a world with finite resources? Short term, of course, this does have a negative impact. But long term, I believe that companies that have solutions that improve the world, these products, they will prevail. And so long term, it definitely will pay off.
There will be some environmentalists who tell you don't have a long time, that we're going to go up beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade in temperature, and then it's the end. But you're right, you can't rush these things. But as more people, from outside your company even, as a whole, get together and really work on an alternative, that could help a lot. In the meanwhile, our young people, our Roots and Shoots program, they can go out and collect plastic. We have many, many, many groups clearing up plastic, trying to stop it going into the ocean, collecting it at the mouth of the rivers. So those are things that can be done on the other side, while you labor for your long-term, more environmentally sustainable future.
By the way, this is really exciting, what young people are really willing to do. But what I would say to those who say you don't have so much time, I think for us it's so important to distinguish between marine littering, for example, and fighting climate change. Because plastics, and this is something which we only fight for transparency, that the plastics do have a positive impact on the carbon footprint. But of course, there's the impact of marine littering.
And how does one educate people to understand that, sustainability is complex and not black and white, and that, for example, plastics are not all good or all bad, and that it can be more complicated than that? How do you teach people to effectively reduce their emissions?
Well, that's what we tried to do with all our youth groups, and we are now in 66 countries. And a lot of our young people, our university, high school, they're so creative, and they're able to, more than adults, they're able to go and talk to the younger children and inspire them. I mean, I was just talking to 700 high school university students this morning, and but the excitement in the room, the projects they were doing, and I think there were 5 groups presenting. I think every single one of them mentioned plastic. We've got to do something about plastic, because it's an easy thing for them to go and collect plastic. But we need everybody, and a better solution for the recycling.
How can a company like Kühner change its employees' hearts? How do you change hearts in a company?
Hopefully you are changing hearts. I've met some of your staff, and they're very passionate about, trying to create change.
We are almost running out of time, but finally, Jane, we brought some questions from Kühner employees to you. And one of them was, where do you take your hope and optimism from in what must sometimes feel like an uphill battle?
Well, it is an uphill battle, but my reasons for hope are the energy of the young people, the fact that all over the world they're actually changing the planet. And the second is this extraordinary brain, and we're coming up with solutions, not fast enough, but as more people, and if you lose hope, you don't bother to come up with a solution, because what's the point? We're all going to die, so let's eat, drink, and be merry. And then there's the resilience of nature. You can destroy nature totally in one area, and with time, nature will come back, and animals can be rescued from the brink of extinction. And then the indomitable spirit, people who say, I'm going to do this. No, you can't do it, it's impossible. I'm going to do it. And they so often succeed.
And maybe just to foster your hope, one of the strongest reasons why people are choosing Grindr as an employer is because our initiatives and our intentions to improve sustainability. This is one of the strongest reasons why they join us, and that's great to see.
I'm going to have to ask my final question. From both of you in one sentence, what do you foresee for the future of life on Earth?
It depends on our action now.
And I'm an optimist, so I think that so many generations were just saying there is no positive life ahead of us, and so many things has changed to a better. But I can only agree. Now we have to act on climate change, but still I believe that there's so much positive to come.
Thank you so much, Jane, for being here with us. Thank you, Axel, for entering this dialogue.
My pleasure. My honor.
That must have been also challenging for you. And thank you so much for watching.